Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to talk to you about gear in photography. And this is something that I already made some short videos about, but I'm going to go a bit deeper into the subject. One of the mistakes that I see some people doing is saying a lot that gear doesn't matter, and this is not true at all. There is nothing true to this. What they usually mean is that you can take nice photos with whatever camera you're using, and this is true, but gear matters. And the reason for this, if you think about it, why would a professional spend 10,000 euros in a camera if gear didn't matter? So it does matter quite a lot. Expensive gear might not make your photos better. You can take good photos with cheap gear, but it makes your life easier. That's why professionals use expensive cameras, because maybe you're a sports photographer and you need to get that exact moment where the ball touches the bat or the racket or the foot of the player. And a camera with really high frames per second can help you with that. It makes your life much easier, trust me, I've been there. But the same way, a good sharp lens also can make photo much better, especially if you have to print it on big sizes and with a high resolution camera like medium format. Yeah, these things obviously do matter. The difference is that you might not need it, and when you're a beginner it might be a waste of money to look at such gear. Like you don't really need to have expensive gear to start, and you don't really need to have expensive gear to take good photos. So yes, the fact is that gear does matter, but no, you might not need to spend that much or to buy everything, like the best gear there is, in order to take a good photo. You might survive and do just fine with really low-end gear. So that is definitely not an issue. However, there is another thing. Sometimes beginners focus a lot on camera specs. They are looking at these reviews, camera specs, and they forget that the camera is not a big part of the story. To give you an example, this video is being recorded on my Sony A7r III, which is a camera from 2017, and I couldn't care less that it's a camera from 2017. It has a resolution, it has one of the best sensors in the market, and that's all I need. It's kind of like a black box which captures the image inside. I don't really care how many frames per second it does. I think it's 10 or 7 depending on the mode, on the mechanical or electronic shutter, but it's irrelevant. I shoot my photos usually frame by frame in single shot mode, so it does nothing for me. It matters to me that it has a really nice autofocus, but if I'm in the studio shooting products, I'm focusing manually anyways, so it doesn't bother me if the tracking is not perfect or amazing. On the other hand, the lenses, yeah, I'm shooting commercially and I want my pictures to be as sharp as possible. So even though I'm using a camera from 2017, I'm using really high-end lenses. Aside from this 35mm that I'm using right now to record this, my lenses are either Sony Zeiss or Sony G or Sony G Master. And aside from one lens, all of them are prime lenses, so they only have one focal length. And this is because these lenses, this type of lenses, they give you the best quality. They don't zoom in or out. You cannot zoom at all with these lenses unless you move yourself. But this is the best quality for the money. So this is what I use. And I have 5 of them, which means that in total I spent like 1,700. I bought my camera used, so I spent 1,700 on my camera, while my lenses, even though I got good deals, they amount to almost 4,000 euros. So, or 4,000 or 5,000 euros. So it's quite a lot more. Like the investment, my investment is on my lenses, especially because then I will switch my camera. I will eventually upgrade someday, and the lenses will remain. So this is where I put my money. I also spend quite a bit on my tripods. I have 2 Manfrotto carbon fiber tripod for traveling, which is the one I'm using right now. And to use in the studio, I have an XP or X190, which is like roughly 300 euro tripod with a 3-way head. And this is what I prefer to use in the studio, and it's much more stable. but it's much heavier as well and more expensive. This one was 100 euros, the other one was 300, so it's different. So what you need to understand is that there are more important things than the camera and that you might need in order to achieve your results. They might make a bigger difference and they might be worth the investment a lot more than having like the brand newest camera from any brand with all the new features and all the new specs. Most of them are useless. I can tell you that most professionals don't care at all for most of these features. And I can also tell you that many people don't even read the manual. They just don't care. The camera has a shutter speed, it has an aperture, ISO, you have the focal length which you adjust by switching the lens, and that's it. Like most professionals don't care about anything else. This is like the base of any photo. So this is what most people should focus on. Which lenses do you need to achieve the results? If you need accessories like flash or like a tripod, or maybe other specialty accessory that you might need. It depends on which kind of photography you do, but the camera is the least relevant part of all of this. So don't spend all your time focusing on the camera. However, another question that I see coming up often, very often, and for me way too often, is should I buy Nikon, should I buy Canon, should I buy Sony? So I started working as a photographer professionally like 16 years ago, and I was using Canon back then. I had Canon film cameras, and then I went with Canon digital cameras, and currently I'm using Sony. In the studio where I used to work, all the gear was Nikon, and yeah, so I've used all the big brands and it doesn't matter, it's all the same. What matters when you're choosing a brand is whether they have the lenses that you need. Like if I'm really fond of prime lenses, and Sony has a really good offer, especially quality for the price. Sony has, in my opinion, the best offer on the market regarding prime lenses. Canon has really amazing zoom lenses, especially now they have really expensive but really interesting like 28, 70, 2.0 lenses, or 24 to 105, 2.8, which I have one, but it's f4 and Canon has an f2.8. They're very expensive, but it's impressive how Canon managed to make these lenses. And you see professionals using both Canon, Nikon, Sony, which proves to you that the brand doesn't matter. You can have really nice photos with any camera brand. Fujifilm has really nice cameras, especially if you're traveling. So it doesn't really matter, the brand. It might matter if you tell me, oh, I want to shoot sports. Then usually, the same way that I find that Sony has a really nice offering for prime lenses, I think Canon usually has quite fast cameras, like regarding focus and frame rates, especially in the lower end, quite unusually fast cameras. I think Sony is usually like 10 frames, while most Canon cameras can go up to 20 frames, if I'm not mistaken. So these things might make a difference, but only if you shoot that type of photography. Like if someone would tell me, oh, choose Canon because it's the best brand. Sorry, not for what I do. I don't need 20 frames per second. I don't need the best autofocus on the market, although it's debatable whether it's Canon or Sony, but still, I don't really need the best autofocus on the market. I need the best dynamic range, which my camera has. I need good color depth, which my camera also has. I need high resolution because I shoot commercially. So my camera has 42 megapixels. It's nice, it's good. I could use 20, it wouldn't make much of a difference, but it's nice to have the 40 megapixels. So in the end, you should look at what you really need for what you actually want to do. And there is no perfect camera, there is no such a thing, there is no perfect lens. You cannot find one solution that does everything. Eventually, if you go with a mirrorless camera or a DSLR, you will need multiple lenses. There is not like one single lens that can do everything perfectly. Usually the lenses that can do a lot, like 28 to 200 millimeters, these kind of super zoom lenses, they're really bad quality, like the image quality is really bad. And even a 24 to 105, which I have, Depending on what you're shooting, yeah, the quality is good. It's already a professional line. In Sony, it's a G lens. In Canon, it's a L series lens. Sigma has the Art, which is also quite decent. But they are decent. They are versatile, but it's a trade-off. So they won't offer you the best quality. But again, depending on what you're doing, if you're shooting an event, maybe you don't care because the photos are not going to be printed like huge or full page you know, this canvas or outdoors. So, and you're not going to edit a lot or do a lot of post-processing, manipulation. So maybe it's good, you know. It depends a lot on what you actually want to do. If you want to shoot sports or birds, eventually you need longer lenses and they can be quite expensive. So again, maybe you don't go with the G series or an L series, you go with something a bit cheaper, like a 70 to 300, the 5.6 ones, which they're usually affordable. But yeah, in general, what you need to understand is if your gear does everything you need it to do, you don't need to go higher or lower, and neither of the brands is necessarily better than the others. That's about it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you subscribe my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram. I usually have some personal projects, some random portraits that I do there. So just follow me on YouTube and Instagram for more content like this. Thank you.